You ain't never seen nothing like this. Never thought it'd be so enticing. Oh, it'll pull you in with a tight grip. Shines like a diamond, bright when the light hits. Oh.
If you are one of those people who love inline-4 engines and the evocative sounds that they produce, this Ducati Supersport 950 is not for you. It is not a motorcycle that will announce your arrival at the local sport bike meetup on a Sunday even before you arrive. What this is a rather different flavor of sport bike, made for those who love the feel, the aggression and character of an L-twin engine nestled inside an evolving chassis wrapped with beautifully styled bodywork. If that's you, this could very well be the everyday sport bike that you were looking for. Think of this bike as a Ducati that's far more practical and usable on an everyday basis than a Panigale V2. The Supersport may not have the raw firepower of the Panigale, but it is by no means a slow machine. Accessible performance is what best describes this L-twin engine. In fact, even in sport mode, the power delivery is measured and predictable, which keeps you entertained without scaring you in a way like a Panigale would. But I think the best way to enjoy the performance of this engine is to keep the rev needle above the 4000 RPM mark and indulge yourself in the responsiveness offered by its bountiful mid-range. It's the strong mid-range that allows you to make light work of flowing past highway traffic as you aren't occupied with shifting up and down the gears to keep the engine running in the meat of its power band. It's the same story while riding in the city as well, and this engine does not protest about the low speeds as much as old Ducati L-twins would. As a city bike, then, the Supersport is usable, but what you'll have to contend with is the amount of heat you feel around your thighs in chock-a-block traffic, given the position of the rear cylinder head. That said, the bike's cooling system is fantastic and the engine never overheated despite snailing through a traffic jam with ambient temps hovering around the 40-degree mark. Proving its ability to handle the urban jungle was only a small part of why I like this engine. Where this L-twin truly shines is when you are caning it down an open road. Keep the throttle pinned and you'll be laughing and giggling in delight at the sheer turn of speed, with the intake and exhaust note simply adding to the excitement. This kind of punchiness and character from a Ducati L-twin is what I've always loved, be it in this motorcycle or the Ducati Monster or even the Diavel for that matter. An inline-4 engine simply cannot offer the sensations that a sporty twin offers. Now this engine may not be for everyone, but take my word when I say this. There's a certain charm to these engines that grows on you as time progresses. As expected of any modern-day Ducati, the Supersport is loaded with electronic safety nets like multi-stage traction control, ABS and power modes, and these work seamlessly. Ditto for the quick shifter. The flexible yet engaging engine and performance aside, a big factor that makes the Supersport a good everyday bike is the sporty yet relaxed ergonomics. The way I'm seated makes you look all sporty and cool without your wrists or your back screaming in agony. In fact, this riding position is quite comfortable, so you could ride this motorcycle every day or also head out for that weekend trip. But what you will notice is that the arms are in a slightly relaxed position. However, the footrest is at a slightly higher position. So if you are a tall rider, you will feel this position is a little too cramped. Also, if you may notice, my size 10 boots keep rubbing against the pillion footrest hanger. Overall, this riding position is sportier than your typical street naked, but it isn't as committed as a superbike. Complementing the engine is a chassis that strikes a nice balance between ride and handling. With adjustable Öhlins suspension at both ends, tailoring the ride as per the riding conditions is only a matter of turning a few screws. Riding over Mumbai's typically poor road surfaces, the suspension did a commendable job of soaking up the punishment. Even the low ground clearance wasn't a bother over bad roads. On the other hand, the absorbent suspension hasn't come at the expense of handling, and there's plenty of grip feedback, and sense of involvement from the chassis that allows one to have fun in the bends. I've had no issues with the braking system as well, and as expected, the bike sheds speeds quite rapidly when the anchors are dropped. One of the issues that I've got with the engine is the amount of vibrations you feel when you're riding, especially under hard acceleration. In fact, the vibrations transfer to the mirrors and all that's left to see is a blurry image of what's behind you. And in the classic case of form winning over function, I kept jamming my thumb in between the clip-ons and the fuel tank every time I had to execute a tight U-turn. But it's okay to overlook these minor issues when you've got a motorcycle that looks so gorgeous, especially in this Arctic white shade. The Italians are undoubtedly gifted in the way they style a motorcycle, and the Ducati Supersport is no exception. This model gets new fairings that are inspired by the beautiful Panigale V4 and looks sharper and more aggressive than the previous Supersport. The LED eyebrow, the recessed placement of the LED headlights, to the cutscene creases on the fairings. It is all captivatingly pleasing to the eye. Ducati has also baked in some function into this gorgeous form, with the cuts in the fairing serving as vents for the hot air around the engine and radiator to exit. The bike also has a two-step adjustable windscreen that does a decent job of deflecting head-on wind. However, some members of the team did find the gap between the bottom of the windscreen and the front fairing when it's in the race position an eyesore. The Ducati Supersport 950 checks almost every box in the everyday sport bike checklist. It's great fun to ride, the ergonomics are bearable, and I think the design evokes that special feeling that you expect when you're spending a bag full of cash. Speaking of, the pricing is the Achilles heels of this motorcycle because it sits bang in Suzuki Hayabusa territory. And if you know your motorcycles well, you will know of the fan following and reverence that the Busa enjoys in our country. The Busa is powerful, it's fast, it's quite practical and oh so desirable. However, it is also not everyone's cup of tea. Sure, the Supersport isn't in the same league as the Busa, but it is a rather enjoyable motorcycle to ride in its own unique way. If you want a more usable sport bike with the experience of an L-twin engine and the appeal of the Ducati brand, the Supersport makes quite a case for itself if you're willing to pay the price.